Hello, friends. Today we will talk about Marxism and Marxist literary theory. Hi, this is Jashwant Rathod, and let us learn. So, first of all, we have to get some information about Karl Marx. Do you know, friends, Karl Marx, he was born in 1818 and died in 1883. He was a German philosopher. He was a son of lawyer, and earlier in his life, he was victimized due to poverty. He was also politically exiled from Germany and he was living in Britain. During that time, there was another fellow, Frederick Engels, right? He was also born in 1820, 2 years after Marx. He was German sociologist, but he was a son of rich man and he has to left Germany to work in his father's textile firm in Manchester, England. Now they both met in England and they jointly established what we now call Marxist school of thoughts. They called their economic theories communism. They believed that industry, transport, etc. should be owned by state. They should not be owned personally, right? So these, you can say, things are the responsibilities of the state. And they jointly wrote Communist Manifesto of 1848. Now let us talk about some aspects of Marxism. Marxism has an aim. And the aim of Marxism is to bring about a classless society, a society without any class. As we know that there are two classes of society, the rich and the poor. The Marxists provided them two names. I am not mentioning here because I wish that you should mention these two names in the comment of this video. And that is why I haven't used two words which are mentioned by Marxists. So, first word is for the rich and second is for the poor. Now, the aim of the Marxists or Marxism is to bring about a classless society. And it should be based on the common ownership of the means of production, distribution, and access. So you have to understand their aim. Their aim was to establish a classless society based on common ownership of means of production, distribution, and access. It is a materialist philosophy. You have to understand that Marxism is a materialist philosophy. Means it tries to explain things without assuming the existence of a world of forces beyond the natural world around us and the society we live in. Means they say that this is the world of realities, right? And that is why there are no divine forces, there are no natural forces. So what influences a human being is a material force. He or she is not influenced by something called natural force, nature, or divine force, or the divine. So they doubt the existence of God. And that is why they believed that materialistic prosperity is something important in this world. It gives you power. So they liked to understand from where this power comes from. Now, let us understand some aspects of it. Marxist philosophy versus idealist philosophy. So Marxism or Marxist philosophy believed in concrete world, while idealists or idealist philosophy believes in the existence of spiritual world. So these people believe in concrete, scientific, and logical world. While in the idealist philosophy, the idealists believed in the existence of spiritual, divine world that may not be comprehended. There may be, that word may be metaphysical word, right? While in Marxist philosophy, we have physical world where we can live, or we can say it can be experienced, right? Real experiences are there. While in this world, there are real experiences, but they believe that there is something called divine word. There is something called spiritual word. There is something called ideal word. Let us remember Plato, right? And this spiritual word is there in you can say realm is there elsewhere, and it offers. So there is an existence of spiritual word, spiritual realm, spiritual space, and this space is somewhere else, and it offers religious explanation of life and conduct. So we have a concept of heaven, hell, purgatory. So religion has a place in that idealist philosophy. So idealist philosophy pointed out that there is a spiritual world. Where there is spiritual world, there is religion, there is divinity, there are concepts of divinity, there are concepts of religion, there are concepts of how to live spiritually and how to do or perform some good work, so that we can, you can say, we can reach to the destination, spiritual destination called heaven. Or if we perform evil deeds, then we may have our destination called hell. So we have that concept of heaven, hell, purgatory, spiritual world in this idealist philosophy. While in Marxist philosophy, these people, Marxists, they believe in concrete world, scientific world. There must be scientific evidences. There must be logical explanations, right, of the world. And this world must be experienced by us, must be observed by us. So the observation, or you can say evident realities, are key aspects of a world in which the Marxist philosophers believe. Right? A famous sentence statement is there. Whereas other philosophies merely seeks to understand. Whereas other philosophies merely seek to understand the world, Marxism seeks to change it. Right? So other philosophies believed that this word is incomprehensible. We are not able to understand this word. The word is, I think, metaphysical to understand. There are many things in the world which cannot be understood by common human being. Right? Famous statement in I think Hamlet, right? That Horatio, there are many things in this world which are which are not to be understood. It is not in human power to understand these forces, right? Even in Shakespeare's other plays, we have many statements, many quotations that we cannot understand the inherent forces, the implicit forces of this word, because this word is metaphysical. There are metaphysical forces in this word. There are divine forces in this word. There are spiritual forces in this word. So it is made up of something called probable improbabilities. It is made up of something called impossible possibilities. It is made up what we call uh, something which may be difficult to decipher. Okay, for Marxists, what is progress and how the word progresses? So Marxists believe that progress is a consequence or a result of class struggles. So there are class struggles in the world continuously, consistently, and the outcome or the result is progress. So progress is a result of class struggles inherent in this world between two classes, rich and poor. So the word progress, or the you can say the process of progress, is motored by the competition. Competition here is very important word. Competition between whom? Between two classes to get success, to get some evident results, to get some economical power, to get some economic power, to get some political power, social power, socio-cultural, religious power. So this competition decides the destiny of that social class. And that is why if they progress, a social class progresses or not, that depends on how forcefully they compete, how actively they compete with other classes. And this class struggle is actually resulting into success or failure of some particular specific class. So a specific class, according to Marxism, is poor because it has not actively struggled, not actively engaged, not actively associated itself with the competition to gain socio-cultural economic power. So for the socio-cultural economic as well as the religious advantages, a social class must compete with other social classes, and obvious the result is exploitation of one class by the another, right? So this is a reality of the world. If progress is the reality, there is domination, there is exploitation, there is oppression. So all this exploitation, marginalization, domination, these are resulted due to socio-cultural competition among classes or between two classes. Let us talk about other concepts. Marxists, they say that due to modern industrial capitalism, there is exploitation of workers. So workers are exploited due to modern industrial capitalism, right? Because the capitalism movement or the capitalism as an enterprise or industrial capitalism that demands competition. So there is competition. If there is competition, there is exploitation, right? And these workers are alienated. They are marginalized. They are cornered. And a common worker is the skilled rather than becoming skilled. Modern industrial capitalism results into a scenario where a worker is de-skilled and he is compelled to perform repetitive tasks. For example, if you go to any factory, an industry, you are ordered to work in particular zone. You have to work keeping in mind specific formula, and you have to do that repetitive task. For example, you are in a packaging department. You must not think about how this brand is attractively packaged, but you have to just work, just make a very good packet and pass it on to the other labor, other worker. So in packaging department, more than 100 in an average industry, we have 100 people working in packaging department. Someone is wrapping that you can say product. Someone is marking that. Someone is fixing, right? Someone is putting this you can say material into a box. Someone is covering the box. So we have the person who has to cover the box must not think about how to raise the price or how to gain more profit from this brand. So he or she has to perform some repetitive tasks, right? And that is why she or he loses her innovative qualities. So these innovative qualities or these innovative concepts in her mind are not explored at all. She has to perform a task, a particular, specified, instructed, ordered task repetitively. Right? So it's a kind of timetable where a teacher has to perform a task. She has to take a class and do not think about other aspects of life. So a labor must not think how this product is made, what is the cost, how we can get more economical advantages, what is the process about, which chemicals are used, which material or what material is used in this product. He or she has to wrap the product and pass it out, pass to the other fellow. He will do his work. So loss of, you can say, uniqueness, loss of innovation, loss of creativity. is there. Okay, so this is particularly I interestingly, or you can say amusingly, call it LIC concept: loss of creativity, loss of innovations. Okay, so loss of innovation is there, loss of creativity is there, and this you can say results into. This is a very complex process. This is not very simple to explain. Right? I have just explained it by providing you a good example of a factory, a worker working in factory. Now, there is something called reification or reification. Means thinksification of that person. So the person who is with his soul, with his mind, with his innovative ideas, with his creativities, with his own unique brain. Now he is just seen as, he is considered as a thing, a force, a label. So the supervisor or the manager or the boss considers this person a labor, a force, a hand. And he is not thought as a person who can be innovative, imaginative, creative, and competitive. He is seen just as a labor. So he has a work, particular work. He has been given a particular task. He has to perform it. Nothing more, nothing less. And this leads to frustration. Because when your innovative ideas are not respected, where your mind is not thought of as an important aspect in your body, where your unique ideas are not appreciated, where your creativity is not considered, then you are frustrated. This leads to frustrated. This is a very, you can say, human relations, right, in a factory, where a manager does not, or a manager is not interested to take the good advice of, or a good counseling of, or a good idea of labor. So worker is always a worker, manager is always a manager, and CEO has a task to think, right? And the owner has a task to think about how to develop, how to get improved, or how to improve my brand, how to sell my brand. This is not the, you can say, uh, this is not considered to be a piece of cake, right, for a worker. Marxist provided two concepts. One is base, second one is superstructure. What is base? Base is the material means of production, distribution, and exchange. So they say that there is a base and there are superstructures. What is base? Base, let me repeat, base is material means of production, distribution, and exchange. And what are superstructures? Superstructures contains or includes the cultural world of ideas, art, religion, law. For example, religion is superstructure. Society is superstructure. Literature is superstructure. History is superstructure. So they provided a concept called economic determinism. Means base determines superstructures. Superstructures are determined, dominated, or controlled or regulated by the base. So our literature, according to Marxist, is controlled, regulated, and managed by base. Religion is managed by base. Base means economic forces. Economic forces of production, distribution, and exchange. Means of production, distribution, and exchange. So society, social forces, fashion, art, history, painting, these all things are dominated by base. They are regulated by base. They are controlled by base. They are governed by the base. They are administered by the base. So this concept is called the concept of economic determination, where it economically their fate or their processes are determined by base. And base, what is base? Economic force. And that is why literary writing is not innocent. So author is not an innocent guy, not an innocent guy. He is not someone who is imaginative, right? Someone who is creative, or someone is divinely inspired, as Plato said. There is always an influence of writer's class and its prevalent ideology in his or her work. So, Marxism does not see author as a primarily autonomous one. Author is not an autonomous fellow. Author does not have his, her individual autonomy. She is not inspired individual. For example, Plato has said that these people are inspired. They are divinely inspired. They are spiritually inspired. They are possessed. I think you have watched my last videos in which I have discussed how Plato opposed poetry. So, Plato opposed poetry on the basis of one reason. On the basis of one reason. He said that a poet is divinely inspired. He is possessed by something called some mysterious spirituality, some mysterious religious, you can say, possessions. And that is why his art, his creation, his product should not be recognized as an intellectual product. So they must not be there in my ideal state, republic. They must be banished. Okay, now let us come to Marxism. So they are not, according to Marxists, they are not inspired individuals. And they may have their genius and creative imagination, but this genius, creative imagination, right, it is constantly influenced and impacted by his class and prevalent ideology. So, we believe that the writers write original and timeless work of art. Marxist says no. Marxist said no. They write works as per their ideology. And their ideology is based on their class, their society. And the work is always a result of socio-cultural, material, economic context. The work is always a fruit of writer's class and his prevalent ideology. So the product or the work of art or the creation is not necessarily innocent creation. It's not necessarily autonomous creation. It's not necessarily something called timeless universal creation. Right? So, means when you read Shakespeare's King Lear, you must read King Lear keeping in mind Marxist context. So, Are there any political, economic ideologies of Shakespeare, the writer, in King Lear? Please think about it. So not only the content for the formal aspect of literary work are influenced by economic base, but there may be possibilities of political overtones in context. So not only content, but the context are influenced or impacted by political overtones, right? And these political overtones are influenced by economic forces. So economical forces may be the base of the content, context, ideas, approaches, ideologies, and point of views of the writer, which are reflected or which are expressed imaginatively, quoting means in quote, imaginatively or innocently, so called innocently, in a literary work. So we have British Marxist critic Terry Eagleton. He suggested that in language, shade, definitions, and regularities of grammar both reflect and help to constitute a well-ordered political state. So language is also political. Language is also not innocent. So the writer uses language of his or her time. He uses the text, yes, and context of ideology of his time, his class. And this ideology of his time, his class is influenced constantly by the economic base, the material base, right? That is why material base is always a prime or an implicit, not overt, but implicit influencer or influence of literary work. In a nutshell, we can say that literary work is not an innocent creation, not genuine, not original, not, you can say, a political creation, a historical creation. Catherine Belsay she is another Marxist critic, and she argues that the writers of the realist novel tried to validate existing social structure of their time. So realistic novel, she pointed out about realistic novel. A realistic novel just not is just not a portrayal of or depiction of realities of that time, but it also depicted socio-cultural structures of their time. So the authors of realistic novel, they were also politically influenced, and their political influence was influenced by their economical status, their class. So Lenin says literature must become an instrument of the party. Literature must, I have repeated the word, two words, literature must become an instrument of political party. So literature may not be seen as an innocent creation. Okay. So it may be political agenda of the party. So you have to understand the book and its messages. Are they political? Are they influenced by some political party of the world? You have to think about it. Browning. Browning was intellectually dishonest person, and in his work he has used vocabulary and which reflects his foggy verbalism, right? So these are, you can say, some critical point of views by Marxists. Now let us talk about Althusser. Althusser was a French Marxist theoretician, critic, a scholar, Marxist scholar. He provided an idea of overdeterminism. What is overdeterminism? It is a word borrowed from Freud. It designates an effect which arises from variety of causes, that is, from several causes acting together rather than rather than from a single, in the case, economic factor. Althusser wants to say here that a work of art, a literary work, is a product of overdeterminism. So we cannot directly say that it is based on economic factor. There is a base. And what is the base? Economic force. But there may not be, these base may not be the primary, may not be the main, you can say, factor in literary creation. Because a literary creation is influenced by a variety of causes. An economic factor is one of that causes. So it is a product, or it is a creation which is resulted from overdeterminism. So it is a result of overdeterminism. So not the economic factor is primary factor. So he deviates from earlier Marxist scholars. He said that, okay, you can say that, okay, there is somewhat called impact or influence of economic factor there in the product. Product means literary writing, text by a writer. Okay, I agree with it. But it is not the only one force. It is not the sole force. It is not the force which is overpowering. It is not the main force. There are other forces too. It is a part of a complex process which contain many forces: social, economic, religious, so on and so forth. So it is just one factor. A literary product is a product conceived, written, or produced, keeping in mind many factors. An economic factor is one factor. He has also provided a concept of relative autonomy, in which, what is it? It is the view that in spite of connections between culture and economics, art has a degree of independence from economic forces. So there is a relative autonomy in a work of art, though it is inspired by, though it is influenced by, though it is impacted by economic forces. There may be economic forces, there may be economic pressures, there may be ideas of economic base in a work of art, but it has also relative autonomy too. So it has its own individuality. It is very complex theory, or it is very complex procedure to find out the economic factor. And that is why a writer has somewhat freedom A writer is free. He has relative autonomy to depict some incident in a literary text independently without keeping in mind some economical forces. Right? So economical forces, as I said previously, they are just one factor. They are not sole, or they are not, you can say, they are not the key factor which decides the fate or the destiny or the structure or the text and context of a literary text. Yes, he has provided a very good concept of ideology. Ideology is an important word. It is also asked in the examinations of national eligibility test, right? State eligibility test. Ideology is a system of representation of images, myths, ideas, or concepts. What is ideology? System of representation. Of what? Images, myths, ideas, and concepts. It has its logic. And it has its historical role in a given society. Culture is therefore a crucial vehicle of values which underpins status quo in any society. The economic infrastructure implicitly and partly influences ideological practices. So there is something called ideology in society. It has logic, it has history, and it can work as a vehicle of values in a given society. And that establishes somewhat called status quo, balance in a society. So society is balanced by its ideology. And what is ideology? Ideology is worldview, a system of representation of myths, images, concepts. So this system is believed by most of the people, and most of the people consolidate, or you can say validate, this ideology, and that is why it is a vehicle of values, systems, beliefs. And what is the prime role? What is his prime responsibility? His prime responsibility is to maintain status quo, balanced society. The society is not unbalanced. Why? Due to its ideology. Right? So ideology can be created, it can be established, it can be corrected, it can be consolidated, it can be maintained in a particular or specific society. So we all pursue some practices which are based on ideology. So we do ideological practices. We do believe in myths. We do believe in ideas. We do believe in certain images. We do believe in certain holy things, social things, spiritual things, gods, and other aspects of ideology. And that is why our society is balanced. We maintain status quo. We do not, you can say, we do not become revolutionaries, right? We do not believe, we do not start revolting against, right, certain things. We believe that, okay, there are some things hidden, complex, complicated, right, there in the world. And that is why this is ideology of the time or this time. And we must adjust ourselves or accommodate ourselves to this ideological status, which is there dominant in society. Now he has differentiated between state power and force. State power is maintained by what Althusser terms repressive structures. So there are repressive structures in society, and these structures help to control state power. help to maintain state power. And who are they or which are they? They are courts, prisons, police, army. So these institutions, they operate. They have their own system, they have their own management, and they control the behaviors of, or you can say behavioral actions of human beings, so that a peaceful society can be maintained. So the result must be a peaceful society. A result must be harmonious society. So if you start speaking loudly, slanging, or you can say performing some violent acts in public, right? In this, you can say in the Garba Mahotsav, ceremony of Garba in Gujarat. If you start crying loudly, claiming loudly, or speaking loudly, or disturbing the function, then there is police. Police may arrest you, may detain you. Then you will go to court and you have to prove yourself innocent. So law courts, prisons, if you are not innocent, you are guilty. And if you have committed crime, you have to go to jail. You have to be in prison, right? So these are the institutions. They work for the welfare of society. They work for balancing the society. They work for making you adjust and accommodate the socio-cultural realities, the socio-cultural systems. Now, this state power is there to maintain balance, to maintain peace, to maintain harmony. Right? It is used, right? But it is not used in exaggeration. It is not used very, you can say, directly in a, you can say, in a kind of unsystematic ways, autocratic ways. Okay? So there is no dictatorship in society. So someone is not dictator. He uses it democratically. And it is operated at last. This is the last stage, right? Someone will call to you, someone will, okay, make you understand that this is Garba function. Okay, people are dancing. You must not cry loudly. You must not speak loudly. You must not, you must maintain peace. You must not you can say, you must not, you can say, um, behave violently, right? Because this is function, this is holy function, this is pious function, and people will talk to you, people will discuss the issue. If you do not agree to them, then the last resort is police. Then police will also first, right? They will also make you understand that you should not do this. But if you do not behave properly before the police, then they will put you in jail. You have to appear before the court, and court will say, okay, are you doing good thing? Are you behaving in a, you can say, kind of good terms, or is it your good behavior? Was it your good behavior? And you say, yes, I believe in violent things. Then they will, okay, sentence you. But these are the last resorts. According to Althusser, the state is also maintained by, you can say, it is also maintained by some ideological structures or state ideological apparatuses. And these are, you can say, political parties, schools, media, churches, family, and art. Right? They foster ideology and they religion. They make you that okay, you must be good human being. Schools, education, they teach you how to behave like a citizen. Right? There, I miss political parties, church, temples. They talk, they preach about peace, harmony in the world, how to be a good human being, values of your values of human life, right? So you become, you can say, you become controlled, balanced human being. So your mind is controlled there. Your mind is nourished there with harmonious concepts, with some peaceful concepts. So it is an aim of a society to secure or maintain peace by using some ideological structures or state ideological apparatuses. Okay. Interpellation, very important word. Althusserian philosophy में means in Althusserian you can say concepts, interpellation is very important concept. So it is a trick whereby we are made to feel that we are choosing when we are not, no, we do not have choice. So it is undemocratically democratic. We are not living in a free world, yet we feel that we are living in a free world. So according to Althusser, capitalism thrives on this trick. It makes us feel like a free agent. We are free. So we are imposed some choices, yet we are told that you are very democratic, you are very free. We have freedom. You must enjoy your freedom. Right? So that is why you have only three colors, red, blue, and yellow. And yet you are told by the political people, by the capitalist people, that you have choice of colors. There are large number of colors in the world. You can choose, but there are only three colors in the market. So Peter Berry, he notes that the differences between political parties once in power are far fewer than the rhetorical gaps between them. You must think about this sentence. Hegemony, very important concept by Gramsci. So Antonio Gramsci, he provided us a concept of hegemony. The notion of hegemony was given prominence by Italian Marxists. He was Italian Marxist, Antonio Gramsci. According to him, rule, which is direct political control, uses force when necessary. So rule, what is rule? Rule is force, right? In Althusser's point of view, it is force. In Gramsci's point of view, it is rule. Hegemony is our lived experiences, social process, which is very complex, like that ideology, where we value societal, cultural, religious values and beliefs, where we interpret societal, cultural, religious beliefs, values, myths, legends as common. And they must be respected by us. So according to Gramsci, hegemony is a kind of structure where we believe in values and we commonly believe in values and beliefs, right? Which are societal or you can say cultural, religious. This is called our class outlook or a worldview. And it is internalized in us from the very birth. So from the very birth, I am made a person from particular society, particular, you can say, citizen of particular nation. And that is why I have, for example, I'm an Indian. So Indian ethos is there in my mind. If I'm an Indian, I know Indian religions. If I am Indian, I know Indian system. Right? So it is complexity. you can say complicatedly or invisibly inbuilt, or you can say implanted, or a human being inculcates these values, and these values are identified by him or her as a worldview or a class outlook. So there are certain values, certain systems, certain ideas, certain concepts of specific society, of specific nation, which are called worldviews, and the worldview or the class outlook is inculcated by a human being from his or her very birth. So this process is maybe connected with the process of naturalization, socialization. So we socialize ourselves, we naturalize ourselves certain class outlook or certain worldview. And this process is not very visible. It is complex. This process is not very evident. This is you can say this is done in a very complex manner. Okay, so that is why we believe in this hegemony, right? Okay, let us compare both. Althusser divides state power, state control. State power, yeah, it is dominated by or it is maintained by repressive structure, jail, prison, or you can say court, law, police, all. He said about ideological structure or ideological apparatuses, you can say it maintains power, right? More strictly, not more implicitly and subtly. And it internalizes in you, right? It is the process of internalization or socialization or naturalization in you, right? By using some textbooks, literature, media, or you can have sermons, churches, temples, right? Political parties. So these ideology, these internalization, socialization, or naturalization of some concepts, some ideas, some myths, some regions, right? This happens in an individual, and she believes in this system, and he is made to believe this system, and he is made to believe this is the world, this is the worldview, hegemony, right? Gramsci, rule means force. It's sorry, I think I have disturbed you. Yeah. So rule, right? According to Gramsci, the rule is a political control, right? Then hegemony is can be connected with ideology, right? Worldview. Ideology means worldview, class outlook, right? Ideology is internalized. Hegemony is also internalized, right? So ideological structure of state or ideological apparatuses, right? They are used to maintain power, right? To maintain peace, to maintain harmony in the society, in particular society. In the case of Gramsci, hegemony is also like it is a kind of worldview. It is a kind of class outlook which is nurtured, naturalized, and internalized by human being. And what is the purpose of it? Purpose of internalization of hegemony or naturalization of hegemony is to maintain balance. Maintain. It is to maintain peace in the world. It is to maintain peace in society. It is to maintain, you can say, somewhat harmony in that society. So both this the purpose or the objectives of hegemony or you can say ideological structures are same, right? So here hegemony is also developed by political parties, schools, media, churches, and all superstructures, right? So there is base, okay, but these superstructures, for example, churches, temples, media, literature, political parties, educational institute, right? They have their hegemonic role to play in the life of a human being, right? They are the ideological structures, or you can say ideological apparatus which influence the human behavior. So these are my views on Marxist, you can say philosophy or Marxism, or you can say Marxist literary theories. Right? Let me recap. I have discussed about Marx, Engels, Althusser, Gramsci, right? And you can also, let me provide you as a teacher, let me provide you a homework. You have to think about the two words I mentioned earlier in the lecture, right? These two words are uh, words to define rich and poor according to Marxist terminology, Marxist philosophy, right? Which is the word for poor, which is the word used for the rich by the Marxists, right? This is your homework. Please comment, right, these words or mention these words in your comments. I sincerely thank you, right? And let me also request you to share and subscribe, right, this channel for new videos. Thank you so much.